Evening, everybody. I have been really looking forward to this day, and it has come a little bit earlier than I was expecting. So, I would have loved to have made the very opening moments something that I did on stream, but it is a very early look, and I did notice that there are a couple of details about this demo that make it a little bit difficult from a streaming point of view. But I figured this is a very special little moment, definitely a game that I'm looking forward to, and I wanted to share as much of the experience with you as I can. And then we'll also talk a little bit about the difficulty, which might just be confined to my own situation, but I think it's going to affect a little bit of the quality that you're going to see. And I wanted to be as upfront as I could about what basically I wanted to show you specifically the change that I am going to make, which is likely going to make the game work a little bit different from what you might be expecting. And hello, Takri. I knew you'd be really excited for this. So I was also going to say, folks, I am also going to try and give people a chance to come in because I'm obviously dropping this the last minute. So Cultist Simulator, I do actually have, so far as I can tell, a legitimate claim to be the first one to stream it. But as it happens, there was a French broadcaster who did Book of Hours before me. So I will say this is the world premiere in English, but I got scooped because I had to work. But thank you very much to Weather Factory for sending out a key to this. I'm sorry I'm breaking your embargo. No, there's no embargo for this. And of course, as soon as any form of the Book of Hours winds up in my inbox, I am going to be setting aside the time to play it. So I want to talk a little bit about the plans before we hit the play button. And again, I do want to give people a fair shot to basically come in and see the opening moments. I am going to open up the game. We'll show you everything that's going on there. But what I would like to do is I'd like to talk about two sort of articles before we jump in properly. And then I've not played the 4 minutes that you see in here is just me seeing how this all plays well with OBS. The answer is a little bit of trouble, but we'll sort it all out. And then it's just going to be gameplay from then on. How you doing, Irrepressible 32 Tal? Yeah, don't worry. Actually, let's take a minute before I do any of this. So obviously, I'm very lucky, and this game is going to be coming out June 2023. But there's a couple of big updates for this. So first of all, on the 6th, I think at 10 a.m. I can't remember the exact time, but anyways, on February the 6th. Yo, there we go. Oh, hang on. No, this is no, there it is. Okay. So at 6 o'clock, sorry, on February the 6th at 10 a.m. Pacific, you are going to be able to play the early draft demo, which is the one that I am playing. And then Thursday the 9th at 10, the the developers are going to be playing this. I suspect that's going to be on Steam. So with that in mind, I did the very rare thing of letting my putting this on Reddit, but I also kind of figured that it's the sort of thing that people might be interested in seeing. But if you have not done so already, you can wishlist the game. You can also follow it. Please don't ignore it. And you can, again, wait till Monday to play the game. But of course, wishlisting is a good thing to do so that when the game becomes available in June, you can buy it right away. Okay, we put off the hour. Let's open this up. Books are the memory which does not die, inscribed in 5 languages over the gate of Hush House. Go quietly. Book of Hours is not a punishing game unless you want it to be. that lovely music. The one little bit of difficulty I have is that it looks like the resolution is fixed to 640 by 480. Now I do have the option of making it full screen for myself, but that creates some... that is correct. So far as I can tell, this is the exact same build that you're going to have access to on Monday. And I get it. Like, if you folks want to preserve this for yourself, we're here to enjoy. This is a game I've been really looking forward to, and that's actually going to be what some of this starting material is about. It's been a very long journey to it, and I'm really, really happy that Weather Factory has got to this point and that we're all able to share that. So I knew as soon as this thing came into my email box, I wanted to make sure that my opening minutes with it were live with all of you. But yeah, so far as I can tell, I don't have access to anything that you're not going to have access to, Irrepressible. So, the only catch here is that while I've turned the beauty to glorious, it looks like the resolution is fixed here. And I can make it sort of a larger screen, but then I'm going to run into the fact that I've got sort of my taskbar down below. And the only reason why I wanted to highlight that is that I am going to make the game a little bit friendlier for streaming. But I'm, of course, streaming at a higher resolution than 640 by 480. And so I don't want to create this impression that sort of the fuzziness that you're seeing for the game is a result of the... I don't want any of you to think that the look here is anything but me dealing with the limitations of broadcasting. Who are the authors? Oh, that's no good. Okay, I can work with this. I have a few different options of that's interesting. What's going on here? There we go. So that's going to work a little bit better for me. Yeah, again, I don't want to overstate it too, but I just wanted to be clear that this is a function of me adjusting the game. There's actually one more thing I'm going to try, which might sort of spoil things a bit for me, but yeah. So that actually does sharpen it up, but it creates a problem. Well, I don't know. Are you guys okay with the letterboxing? Okay. Yeah, let's enjoy the game in full resolution. Or as close as I could get. So, design, writing, and coding by Alexis Kennedy. Art, UI, and production by Lottie Bevan. Coding, testing, and support by, is it Chelnock? Icon and art by Clockwork Cuckoo. Room art by Adrian Degan. And music by Mickey Mar Productions, Maribeth Solomon, Brent Barkman, with eternal thanks to Mickey Erb. So, as always, you've got the news. Well, here we go. Welcome to Book of Hours. Follow us at www.weatherfactory.biz and at Factory Weather on Twitter to learn about the upcoming updates and other projects in the Secret History setting. If you find a bug or the game is crashing on you, do let us know at support@weatherfactory.biz. Thank you, Lottie and Alexis. Early Draft Edition playthrough, a limited work-in-progress version of the game's opening. So again, there's the option to wishlist, there's feedback and bugs, there is an option to sign up for the beta, so, and I will actually just, oh, hang on, I gotta close this now. I will actually let you know
there's a lot of discrepancies and I can care less.
Okay.
No.
So you don't care? In other words, so if you were told it was true...
That's a really fun interview for those of you that haven't seen it, but we can talk about that later. I really blew this. Okay. So in any case, there is the sign up for beta message. Essentially, for people who have sort of helped out in terms of bug reports and such, I believe they have a few priority spots that they've given. So for those of you who've helped out in the past and you want to take a look at the closed beta, presumably you want to do this because you want to provide useful feedback and testing. You probably have got making sure that you use the email. You definitely should make sure that you follow up on Book of Hours. But as much as I've been loving this music, actually I'm curious with the setting. Yeah, no more changes there. What I did want to do was I wanted to give up 2 articles before we really stuck in with this. Oh, nuts. I'm sorry, something just happened in my browser here that I need to deal with. It does give me a chance to put the tester message up. Sorry, I had all the material like ready to go, and then I had all this excitement. So let's see if I can find the. Playtest Book of Hours. Book of Hours needs beta players. Help make it the best game it can be by signing up to be a beta tester. If you are randomly selected from the list, you'll get access to pre-launch builds so that you can play early and let us know about any bugs you find. We've reserved some of the testing slots for folk who have given us helpful bug reports or feedback on Cultist Simulator. Use the same email address if that's you, so your chance of being selected is higher. We'd really appreciate the help. So again, it's very easy to sign up for stuff like this and not follow through. So, I think we all hope that everyone who goes into that obviously has a lot of fun with the new game, but does actually, provides the useful thing that Weather Factory is looking for. But one of the things that I have very much enjoyed about doing Cultist Simulator on YouTube and, and Twitch and all of that is the community is very, very nice. And so I also don't think that's a particular worry there. But I did say that I wanted to talk about some stuff beforehand. So what is this game? Some of you already know about Book of Hours, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the origins of it, and then I also wanted to talk a bit about sort of the journey and all of that, and then close with an article which I suspect was probably brought up for a reason. So we're going to do the display. Why are you like this? Here we go. This is the Weather Factory blog from the 18th of January 2019, so over 4 years ago. It really is wonderful music, and hello, no humane being. So this, by the way, doesn't seem to be working, so silence please. The day before yesterday, I was finishing the ultra-hardcore New Game Plus mode for Cultist Simulator, and I thought about how mean it was, and I idly tweeted this. Idea: extremely relaxed Cultist Simulator expand-alone. You're a librarian. Books arrive in your occult library, and you just examine, catalog, and arrange them, then provide them to visitors. Very low challenge, lots of careful board organization. It got a surprisingly good response, so in a mode of cheery whimsy, and I'll admit optimism, I tweeted this. Crumbs, okay, if this reaches 1,000 retweets, I will try to convince John Bevan, that's Lottie, to let us make this. Prediction, it will top out at 89 retweets, and I'll look like a fool, but I've never really minded that. Note, 1, my careful positioning of Lottie as Jorkins to my Spenlow and or my salvation from my own folly. 2, that it crossed 1,000 RTs just now and appears to be accelerating. The fun thing is that we have a major update due for Cultist in 4 days, and I'm supposed to be writing the finishing touches for it. TIL, don't do a viral the night before a major scheduled release. So, real talk, 3, you are all troublemakers. Not you, sorry if you didn't retweet it. All of you, you're not a troublemaker. But actually, I really like the idea. I've been thinking a lot recently about whether we would ever do a more relaxed game experience. A lot of people over the last decade have said, AK, I like your words. Please put them in a game that doesn't want to hurt me. I would like to do something serenely menacing and peacefully gothic, where the challenge is your indexing is out of date and the patrons are tutting, and possibly a cat has nibbled you under your under repair book, rather than your soul will be eaten by a thing with another thing for a head. 4, we have a roadmap until April for Cultist, and we had 1.5 other projects we were going to do pre-production on real soon. So assuming that we make that damn librarian game, then we need to rejig our planning, and that's not something we want to promise on a whim. But after we get Christopher's build / the major victories, free update on January 22nd, folks, out the door, Lottie and I are going to sit down and look seriously at how we could make this work. It's not out of the question that you might see a Kickstarter later this year. And when we do more with this, we'll let everyone know here. So this is the mailing list, because I'm not sure I'm going to be allowed on Twitter anymore. P.S. A number of actual librarians, only one of whom got cross, engaged with us on Twitter about this. If you're a librarian, please feel free to drop us a line at contact@weatherfactory.biz.
I would never want to belong
Oh,
to any
thank you
club
very much, whoever
that
just
was
followed.
like me forever.
With interesting librarian facts or things that people don't understand about libraries that annoy us. This game is set in a fictional alt-universe 1920s library, so I can't promise it will address the challenges of 21st century librification, but I'm interested. Hello, Oben. So that's the origins of this thing. And obviously there was the Kickstarter that was sort of ramping up, and then there was something really terrible that happened. And the game has sort of been developed a little bit more in quiet, and there's been some EU funding and just a lot of talk about the game. We got some updated screenshots recently. There's a little bit more activity just in terms of everybody talking about, how it's shaping up. And then I was actually very surprised to hear the demo news, but I was delighted by it. And there's been quite a bit of discussion in terms of the different themes and the different ideas behind this. So I noted with interest this 2nd of April post. This was actually something that was also tweeted out, and I actually think there's a very specific reason why it was. So we're going to read that as well. 16.1.16. The unusual uncle I mentioned below was David Insall, a fascinating man who at different times had been a sheep farmer, an environmentalist, and a contract officer in Oman. My mother assures me that he once brought a wolf pup to her dinner party. What's a popular verb in games? I'm guessing a lot of you thought shooting, even though it's not that common, in the same way that if I asked you to name an animal, a lot of people would say a lion. Shooting's not universal, but it is endemic. It's what non-gamers think games are about. It's what news outlets use to illustrate headlines about how the games industry is making more than Hollywood again. It's the mechanic at the heart of BioShock, Half-Life, Call of Duty. It's not much like actual shooting. Have you noticed that? My experience of shooting is very limited, but I know that much. An unusual uncle of mine tried to teach me to shoot in a field in Wales. I grabbed a bulky, alarming object with both arms. I tried to listen to all the general instructions. I aimed at a piece of corrugated iron on the other side of the field. I pulled the trigger, there was a horrible noise in my ear, and the alarming object leapt like a cow tossing its head, and the uncle told me I'd missed. Then I did it again until we got bored, which didn't take long. There was no crosshair. There was no crosshair. I know how shooting works in games. You minutely twitch the muscles in your wrist, the crosshair drifts until it coincides with the Nazi's head, there's a satisfying sound and a puff of blood, and the Nazi goes down in a tangle. It's a perfect little loop. Make a decision, wrangle feedback across seconds, interact, experience your reward, reload, and then you go on. How many Nazis and other disposables have you killed like that? I did a back-of-the-envelope calculation, and as a middle-aged, moderate-intake consumer of man-shooters, it's about 20,000. Don't worry, this isn't one of those editorials about how shooting is wrong, although I may yet do that. I thoroughly enjoy shooting, for instance, combine shoulders. The headshot, the death static, the immediate reduction in the number of pulse rounds in the air. It's all very satisfying. It's nothing like that field in Wales. Healing. Healing in games is the opposite of how healing actually feels. Healing is a calendar activity. It's the careful curling of skin around wounds. It's the uncertainty of whether muscles will ever align, whether you'll be able to stand unaided again, whether the pain will stop and when, of sunlight and boredom and hospital ceilings. Healing in games is, by and large, less troublesome than adding funds to an Oyster card. Once you notice the differences, you can't stop. Have you done much jumping in real life? The whole point of jumping is gravity. Gravity is harsh, not to mention an ankle-shattering mistress. Jumping requires a run-up, a landing, careful consideration. You can't jump without being immediately reminded that your consciousness is tethered to a big cluster of bones slathered in heavy flesh. Ow, right? But look at Mario, look at Lara, look at anyone jumping over lava. Gravity is to that kind of jump what white space is to the end of this paragraph. It's just something that comes next. We'll continue on the other side without breaking stride. I'm playing Bloodborne at the moment. Bloodborne has a reputation as a meaty physical bone breaker, as merciless and arbitrary as an assassin's Swiss watch, an artifact which doesn't make compromises. But of course it's still a game. Every time I flick my threaded cane at an enemy, the whip coils in exactly the same pattern. Every time I strike enemies, it passes through, with a visceral, satisfying squelch natch. It never misbehaves. It never tangles in a stray limb. I never slip on cobbles, my arms never get tired, my wounds don't hurt. Bloodborne is about as realistic as chess. Chess. It's the comparison we all understand. It's a battlefield, without a battle or a field, or death, or soldiers, or mud, or uncertainty. It's a battlefield where the sides take turns. Can you imagine the French and English at Agincourt taking turns? But it makes sense. It's satisfying. Players have enjoyed it for 1,500 years. Bishops don't move diagonally, but with clerical law and privilege on their side, they could conduct refined strikes into unexpected quarters. Knights didn't move in an L shape, but they did obey a peculiar code that restricted their movements. Peasants didn't become queens, but sometimes they'd raise a rebellion that threw the kingdom off its axis. Castles don't travel, but they are blunt instruments of limited flexibility and tremendous power. Chess makes sense because it doesn't pretend to be a simulation. The similarities between games and reality are more striking because of their differences. We restrict the correspondences to the ones that interest us. Game design is poetry, and poetry doesn't make daylight sense. The world's your oyster? The world is nothing like an oyster, in every respect but one. If you think too hard about it, it falls apart. If you nod and move on, it works much better than a simulation. World, oyster, knife, pearl. Okay, it's as sensible as using a mouse to place a crosshair on a Nazi's undercut, which is to say, pretty sensible if what you want to experience is the pleasure of decrementing the Nazi count, and not the complicated pleasures of wrangling a big herdy wooden thing. Games are games. They're carefully positioned portholes that we see part of the world through, and the part that we see is the part that the designer has laid out for us. They're not simulations. Some of them pretend to be simulations. just for fun, but that's another designer experience. I just Googled simulator game, and okay, I got Goat Simulator Payday, which doesn't much help my point, and which frightens me a little. But my point is that no game is realistic, and that's intentional. Realism in games, even once you get past the issues of crazy polygon counts and herniated CPUs, is as much of a fiction as jumping without fear of gravity or taking turns at Agent Court. All these experiences are mediated to show a particular part of the world from a particular angle. That, of course, is why we play them. So the healing part was actually what really stood out for me there, and I think that's going to be coming up quite a bit inside of this game. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the kind of the origins, the fact that we've been waiting years for this. I can remember doing Apostle still, and this discussion, and now we finally get a chance to open the Book of Hours and see what's lying underneath. And so, we begin the game. Brandkurg, March 7th, 1936. There has been no librarian at Hush House since the fire, 7 years now. Suitable candidates are very difficult to find, but perhaps we have found one in you. Take care on your journey. The seas around Brandkurg are treacherous. Okay, let's figure out where we are. It has been a very long time since I've felt this way about a Weather Factory game. I really like this effect. Crowcross Sands. Brandkurg is a tidal island. At low tide, you could walk there, though you probably shouldn't. So we've got wisdoms, memories, elements of the soul, skills, sundries. Guidance. These sands can be treacherous. Ask a guide the way. Oop. Assistance. The librarian lives alone, but there's no shame in seeking assistance from others. Assistance can open new rooms or help with crafting. It disappears when used or at dawn. I don't know what the check means. Moon. Secrets are soft. Night is softer still. The sea speaks. It is not always wise to listen. The nocturnal, the forgotten. Winter. Winter is the principle of silence, of endings, and of those things that are not quite dead. Okay. There's so much to check, so I want to see what's... Okay. The Tree of Wisdom. Scholars and adepts recognize the 9 wisdoms, though they disagree where one wisdom ends and another begins. Something for me to think about. Use the cursor keys to traverse the tree. So I am never going to be able to pronounce all of this, but... One of the things that I really like about... when they first unveiled this. So I think it's no secret, right, that I am a big, big Lantern fan. But what I really like is the way that they've sort of invited the kinds of comparisons. So, like, I like The Watchmen, right? I just think that there's a lot to like about that, and that I think is very interesting. So going for the single note for me is still very satisfying. But, there are other aspects I like. I like Knock. I relate to Knock. Maybe not as much as Lantern, but this idea of sort of combining a few different subjects. Hey, I didn't see this. We're going to go through all of these where we can, but it might be nice to maybe have something that motivates this other than curiosity. Also, I'm really dreading the possibility of going down these, or having to pronounce these. So, our last option is to... By the way, I've not been following the blog, so I think some of you are probably going to be familiar with what some of these menus are. But here we go. The cold comes first, thunder growling, waves pounding, and finally me, sprawled on the sodden sand of the beach. There's something in my hand. Oop. So I don't know if this was loading while I was waiting, but thunder growling, waves pounding, thunder growling, waves pounding, and finally me, sprawled on the sodden sand of the beach. There's something in my hand. Now, these may be related to the cards that we've got, but we have Soaked, in peril of dissolution, intervene quickly, but not hastily. Heart. The heart relentless beats to protect the skin of the world, we understand. The heart is the principle that continues and preserves. Element of the soul. The human soul is composed of 9 elements, and this is one. Most other things have simpler souls. Each soul card can be used once a day for the kind of things that you do with your soul. That usually means talking to people or crafting. Winter. We've already covered that. Readable. There are worse things to put in your eyes than this. Yeah. Sky. Wind, storm, echo, song. The intricacies... Oh. The fishermen of Brankirk village bench their boats here each night. The sea does not regret the tide, and after the tide withdraws, something always remains, which we call memory. It's true of storms, too. Sorry, sky. Wind, storm, echo, song. The intricacies of mathematics and the principles of flight. Law's touch is lighter than we sometimes think. Matters of balance, harmony, and necessity. And memory. Something remembered might be something understood. Memories can be used to help with crafting to upgrade skills. Health, half drowned. Shivers rack my soaked body. Your health is failing. Find somewhere to warm up. I wonder if there's a... Okay, there is a pause. So I'm going to do my usual thing, right? I'm going to savor this. Memory storm. There are storms great enough to shake the moon from the sky and one's thoughts from one's skull. So perhaps not surprising that we've got heart there. And a drowned book, the one possession I kept from the shipwrecked. It must be important to me. Belongings. Keep things here until you tidy them away. Oh, interesting. Hang on. Remember, what do I have left to work with? Anything that matches these aspects below can go in the slot. So, soaked, memory, and element of the soul. Alive, approximately. I'm soaked, I'm freezing, but as far as I can tell, I'm still alive. You have some health, don't lose it. You need it if you want to be alive. What else do you have? So, it does mention the drowned book, so if I were to put it, I remember, perhaps this book can help me put the pieces together. What's left? The storm didn't take everything. So if I combine these, there was a storm. It smashed the ship like an egg, but I seized this book and this, as the sea seized me, and the sea brought me here to Brandkrug. So I'm wondering, do I want to do something before? So I have the guidance. One last time, depend on the kindness of strangers. Actually, hang on. Yeah, so I've got my memories and I've got... Okay. So I've got assistance. I've got sky. No skeptical. Right. Hang on. One of these definitely had sky. Okay, I must be misunderstanding the tooltip. So I can do the one thing which I was going to... Oop. Had that wrong. Wait a minute, Crowcross Sands? That was different, wasn't it? I'm doing the thing that I used to do in Cultist Simulator and just brute forcing as opposed to relying on the aspects, but I've got a few things that are kind of popping up on me. Anyways, let's try and salvage this book, especially because it's the main thing that I can do. There was a storm. It smashed the ship like an egg, but I seized this book as the sea seized me, and then the sea brought me here to Brandkrug. Sorry, Brandkrug. There was a storm. It smashed the ship like an egg, but I seized this book and the sea seized me, and then the sea brought me here to Brandkrug. Brandkrug is where I wanted to be, but it's hard to remember why. What else did I lose in the storm? fatigued, the part of us that which dreams. So this has got element of the soul and fatigued. Wait a little. Fatigued abilities always recover at dawn unless you find faster means of recovery. Core, exuberance, instinct, rhythm. And Shapt, eloquence and understanding. The door opens both ways, so presumably we will use that with the village. Freezing. It's not even cold anymore. I could just lie down right here. I could sleep right here. You really need to find shelter. Okay. It is strongly encouraging us. Yes, yes, that's me. What else is me? Okay. So... It's definitely, like, it's pretty clear from the start what I need to do. I need to try and find some kind of shelter. Soaked, element of the soul, and winter. Now, I would have guessed here that, you know, I would just sort of convince people somehow. But it's fatigued, so there's not a whole lot that I can do with these. We've got the village. So again, we've got assistance, we've got sky, and we've got skepticism. And again, the X on here was, I wasn't here in the beginning. How did you get this? So Bearkiss, I was basically just one of these incredibly privileged streamer types who's able to get an early access to the game. So essentially there were people who've covered, I'm assuming people who've covered the game before, but otherwise are on Weather Factory's list. And I got my key today. So essentially what I'm playing here is, I guess, a demo. It's like a beta demo. And as far as I can tell, this is the game that everybody will be playing on the 6th. And probably having an easier time than me. So we had the health, we've got the drowned aspect, but that doesn't do much on its own. We've got the sands, and we've got like, obviously all of this is closed off to us, so we need to find a way into the village. Brankrug Village, Sanctuary in the Storm. I'll need help to climb the cliffs in the dark, and the locals are suspicious of outsiders, more than ever so since the Restoration and the new king. So my feeling here was, okay, maybe we need to do something with the with the abilities that we have, but they're all fatigued and they don't seem to be on some kind of a timer. So we're sort of left with the freezing heart freezing health, and really only 2 places to go. So we've got the sands, which again, we don't have assistance. We do, I guess, if we were to find 2 winter. So given that I'm freezing. Oh, hang on. Is that what the guide? Yeah, I'm still trying to get a read on exactly that. The other thing we can try is the wisdoms, but I don't think that's going to be relevant to any of these here. So we've got the rescue journal, which might be appropriate, but we would need to repair it. Presumably that's when we get to the building. WTNYC6 token. Ask for it by name. Yeah, I think we're just going to unpause, and we'll see if we can make... We'll see if we can make some kind of headway. So yeah, the thing that I'm trying to get a little bit of a read on was when I click on this, I get the guidance. When I click on open, I'm not seeing a whole lot. And I just don't have that many cards to play around with. Hang on. Is time moving ahead? Yeah, there we go. I'm feeling very foolish right now. The other possibility that I need to... Thank you. Yeah, I'm obviously very happy to give this a shot. So let's speed things up on the health front. It's possible we'll just perish. Because I do have a thought about what could potentially be causing this. Nope. It's not even cold anymore. I could just lie down right here. I could sleep right here. Okay, so this is just going to keep cycling through freezing. So I have a theory on this, and I think that I'm not able to open certain windows. I'm trying to think of a way that I can verify that. The reason I say it, like, notice how I'm clicking back and it's not letting me in? And that's bound to happen with an early look. So, I apologize for getting everyone excited on Book of Hours. I'm going to just quit out of the game, and we're going to reload this. And I'm not going to mess with the resolution I'm not going to mess with the full screen on this one this time. Books of the Memory Which Does Not Die, inscribed in 5 languages over the gate of Hush House. Go quietly, Book of Hours. Sorry. So I'm going to hit begin again here. So one of the things that's kind of a tell for me about the difficulty is hitting the leave button. So that also doesn't actually do something for me. So we're going to purge the save just so we can... Brandkrug, March 7th, 1936. There has been no librarian at Hush House since the fire, 7 years now. Suitable candidates have been very difficult to find, but perhaps we have found one in you. Take care on the journey. The seas around Brandkrug are treacherous. The fishermen of Brandkrug village bench their boats here each night. The sea does not regret the tide, and after the tide withdraws, something always remains, which we call memory. It's true of storms, too. Okay. Once again. The cold comes first. Thunder growling, waves pounding, and finally me, sprawled on the sodden sand of the beach. There's something in my hand. So, soaked in peril of dissolution, intervene quickly but not hastily. We've got heart. The heart relentless beats to protect the skin of the world we understand. We've got an element of the soul, winter, readable, sky, and memory. So, half-drowned, shivers rack my soaked body. Your health is failing, find somewhere to warm up. I'll just pause to get that sorted out. A memory of the storm. There are storms great enough to shake the moon from the sky, and one's thoughts from one's skull. And a drowned book, the one possession I kept from the shipwreck. It must be important to me. Okay, what do I have left to work with? So, we do have the salvage. Now, I guess the one thing I am curious about here, if I try salvage, alive approximately, I'm soaked, I'm freezing, but as far as I can tell, I'm still alive. You still have some health, don't lose it. You need it if you want to be alive. What else do you have? So this is the part that is a little weird to me, which is with Brandkrug village. So I've the check for the sky, right? The which would suggest to me that I should be able to do some kind of interaction with that. Oh, looks like the store memory's locked. But I haven't actually been able to put anything inside this area here. So I remember there was a storm. It smashed the ship like an egg, but I seized this book as the sea seized me. Then the sea brought me here to Brandkrug. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm trying to put it, if it's required, and, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is, whether it's required or whether it's optional, the fact that I can't put it in at all is still a challenge, right? So I don't think it's that different from Cultist Simulator, but it's just, I'm wondering if what I'm encountering here has less to do with the cards themselves. Like, I think I might be making the correct inference from the icons, but it may be that there's something that's preventing me from being able to, like, to actually trigger the event. There was a storm, it smashed the ship like an egg, but I seized this book as the sea seized me. Then the sea brought me here to Brandkrug. And Brandkrug is where I wanted to be, but it's hard to remember why. What else did I lose in the storm? Okay, the one possession I kept from the shipwreck, it must be important to me. So, readable and soaked. This is what we saw before, so we can actually expand this if we want. So we've got Fet, that part of us which dreams. Core. Exuberance, instinct, rhythm. Shapt, eloquence and understanding. The door opens both ways. So I kind of had this impression that maybe with something like Shapt, we would maybe talk our way into the city or the village. But this is the part where I feel a little unsure with this open option, because there's definitely menus that I can't do anything to. And it makes me wonder, so let's maybe see here. So I've got load as an option, got options as an option. Okay, so those are all working. The leave isn't working, but that's fine. I actually think there are Unity reasons as to why leave may not be working. But the one thing I'm a little worried about here is I'm wondering if hitting open should be opening a new window. Because if I click on the guidance, we have the guidance. And in principle, I mean, this is all, you know, potentially like fatigued. You can kind of see why you wouldn't necessarily be able to do anything with these. But ultimately, if you keep running into something like that, you wonder, okay, is this less about my inability to understand the opening moments of the game, or is there something that's keeping me from, you know, from being able to work with all of this? So we had the option of salvage. We've got what's left, so that will allow for an element of the soul or memory. Oh, interesting. So we can recover it. There we go. So yes, it was a question of me not putting the right things in. Yeah, I think they're pretty clear on the content. I don't think that's the problem, but again, so now I've got a little bit more information. So this is what I kind of like about game. I realize that this is tedious for some people, but this is actually how I finally made some sense of Cultist Simulator, which is to sort of work my way through and understand the assumptions that I was making in the opening moments. So when I see fatigued, I think, okay, it's going to take me a while to kind of get in and, you know, and do something. And in this case here, I'm going to take Shapt because of the eloquence side. We'll see if I can, you know, I can convince them to let me in. The human soul has 9 parts. Oh, wait a minute. This is like picking your character, isn't it? The human soul has 9 parts. Eloquence and understanding rise from the part of the soul we call Shapt. Is my Shapt strong? Recover this ability. The other 2 will be lost to the sea for now. Yes. This is starting your... There we go. All right. What remains of me? Dreams? The human soul has 9 parts. Fet is that part of the soul that dreams. Is my Fet strong? Recover this ability. The other 2 will be lost to the sea for now. Or core. This human soul has 9 parts. Exuberance, enthusiasm, instinct all rise from that part of the soul we call core. Is my core strong? We're going Shapt. This is the coast where Brandkrug Isle lies. My sources brief me thoroughly about the place, and I know there's no way I can cross to the isle in these seas. I'll need to find shelter for the night. Okay, so sorry, I'm I'm maximizing the window now. So here's my shop. Eloquence and understanding. The door opens both ways. One of the 9 parts of the human soul. So this has knock aspect. The knock permits no seal and no isolation. It thrusts us gleefully out of the safety of ignorance. The knock is the principle that opens doors and unseams barriers. Forge. Fire, I once read, is the winter that warms and the spring that consumes. The principle of the forge transforms and destroys. And this is an element of the soul. Okay. So we've got Arab. Pride, compassion, hatred, and fear. Faust. Sight, perception, inspiration, all the glory's gifts. Well, I mean, I feel like I'm obligated to go with that one. Whist, name, memory, that part which remains. Most librarians know that books have souls. Most librarians hope for books with simple souls of whist and nothing else. And metal, the capacity for meaningful choice. So let's try the same trick. What remains of me? Light? Faust is the light within. Sight, perception, inspiration. Choose a strong Faust and a past with a pursuer who can see the light within you. The waves will wash away the other abilities. Arab. Arab is the shadow of the soul's cellar. Pride, fear, hatred, compassion. Choose a strong Arab and a past where your passions were paramount. Whist is the soul's memory, the true name scratched on its cornerstone, and what remains after the rest has passed. Choose a strong whist and a past where you sought voices that had fallen silent. And metal. Character. Metal is the soul's tampering, will, self-discipline, that part of us which makes the right choice. Choose a strong metal and a past where you made mistakes. The waves will wash away the other abilities. I do kind of feel like Faust. Whoa. It's either Whist or Faust. We're going to do Faust this time. Faust is light within, sight, perception, inspiration. Perhaps here I'll find safety from what follows me. But what was that exactly? First things first, I remember there's someone in the village who will give me sanctuary if I can get there. Mysteries have been added to your journal. You can begin to investigate them when you and your journal are both dry. I really do like the fact that the journal is a character with you on the you're seeking shelter and a dry place as well as a place to dry out your book. Sight, perception, inspiration, all the glory's gifts. One of the 9 parts of the human soul. So two lanterns, sky, and element of the soul. Mystery lantern. Greater challenges require stronger skills. And finally, an old friend's address. I first heard of Brandkrug through its rector, Reverend Timothy. For years now, I've been exchanging letters with him. I can find shelter tonight under his roof once I've reached Brandkrug village. The rector can also introduce you to other villagers. Shelter? Brandkrug village must be nearby, but it's hard going, dragging my soaked body across the soaked sand in the teeth of the wind. Which way? So do I get to use this here? I guess not. So we'll see what happens once the timer runs out. Memory, fear. The oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown. H.P. Starcraft. Scale. Hard without, hard within. Hard to rouse, harder to subdue. What is left of the crude powers of the deep earth. Edge. All conquest occurs at the edge. One who dwells there is blind and cannot be wounded. Another is strong and grows stronger. Edge is the principle of battle and struggle. And then we've got memory. Probably not surprising that memory fear has memory. Can't put that there. A thing must have at least one of these aspects. Knock, heart, or rose. Oh, here we go. Okay. A cry for help. Perhaps there's someone out there even in this weather. I can fill my lungs and bellow for help. That would also mean I don't need to crawl any further. Knock opening the way probably should not have taken me that long to figure out, but... At last I see the light of a hurricane lamp bobbing in the dark. As it approaches, a face glimmers above the lamp. Fisherman's assistance. A fisherman from Brandkrug village. He can guide me up the cliff path if he trusts me. Well, that's why we were using our shaft. So he has aspect sky, assistance, skeptical, and moon. So presumably, if we were to get past the, if we were to get rid of the skeptical, then we would be able to, we'd be able to get a move on. So, if I were to talk, come no closer. What's thy business? So for this, we would need an introduction. Even in this remote place, one can meet new friends or make new enemies. But I don't believe we have an introduction yet. Oh, no, yes we do. An old friend's address. Allaying suspicion. Be someone that'll speak free? Of course, since 1930 and the Restoration, the locals have grown ever more suspicious of foreigners. But there is someone in Brandkrug that I know. I'll take ye by the cliffs then. This gentleman is no longer skeptical. So I really do like this new, Brandkrug village. This quiet Cornish fishing village has laid long in the Isle's shadow. It might be as old as Hush House itself, and like Hush House, Brandkrug village has provided sanctuary over the years for its share of misfits and exiles. So I really like this idea of unlocking the different parts of the map. Obviously I've seen, I'm not completely ignorant of the different posts, but I haven't been following as closely just because it's been a really, really busy time. But I did know that you don't start with everything unlocked, and I'm really excited by this possibility. Obviously it took me a little bit of effort to get started. But I feel like I'm starting to kind of find my sea legs, so to speak. So I do want to see if there's other things that we have available to us. So like there's that side. I think one of the big things for me is that I've been hearing so much about Hush House, which I believe is going to be at this end here. So I've been reading so much about it, and yet I want to, I want to get there. But of course it makes us work our way towards the library. So we can go to the old rectory. We can go to Midwife and Handywoman, Coffins and Cradles, the Sweet Bones, the post office. Old friend was the Reverend. Yeah, let's try the old rectory. Rectory locked. Reverend Timothy is a hospitable soul, but Terence, his housekeeper, guards her employer fiercely. She doesn't want his innocent theological enthusiasms getting him in trouble with the new king's men. You'll need an introduction marked with lantern, knock, or sky. Clergyman distrait. Good heavens, what happened? How did you come here? Take shelter at the rectory, and now I suspect time is passing. Reverend Timothy flutters fussily while Terence, the housekeeper, busies herself with practicalities. She shows me to a warm room at the top of the house where a fire is already made up. Memory Foresight, Wits Forge, and Fire Blast, meanings press and screw. Coleridge on Donne's poetry. Health, half drowned, shivers rack my soaked body. Your health is failing, find somewhere to warm up. And we've got foresight again. Crossroad of seasons. A new year begins. After the storm approaching dawn, the stars have struggled through the storm rags of cloud, but they retreat now as the dawn approaches. I can't have a drowned book. Spring, the world warms. Ah, this is nice. I also really like the music cue here. Well, I think you're getting a bit of an indicator about how that works here. Irrepressible 32 tell. I'm just going to take a quick look, or irrepressible. I'm just going to take a quick look here. So we apparently could have used the introductory in the front room, it looks like. So we've got the sweet bones, diplomacy, or bribery. We've got the smithy. Again, that requires an introduction. And then we did have the mystery. Was that in the journal? Sorry, I've been trying to keep on top of the... Oh no, here it is. Yeah, so we're going to need to ring out the book first. Okay. Over breakfast, Reverend Timothy bombards me with questions and opinions. He is touchingly excited to meet his correspondent in person. I'm still too exhausted to hold up my end of the conversation, and Terence is not a talkative woman, but the Reverend can talk for 3. I relate to this Reverend. All right. We've got 2 foresight, and I've got my health back, so we will read the details here. The dwelling place of the soul, the ninth of the 9 parts of the soul, the only one that can be touched. So this is element of the soul, also scale, so shares that in common with fear. Heart and nectar, the green wealth in the world's veins, the pulse of the seasons. Long ago, some called this principle blood. So we have the study. The Reverend Timothy is always pleased to see you. So it's got to be an element of the soul with lantern and knock, which presumably this will work out. The Reverend Timothy's door is always open to me. Timothy will offer to help for free as a friend. But I want to take a quick look here and see if maybe there are some other things that we can do before following through on the rectory. So scale I'm going to pay attention to. So scale and memory are 2 that are new. Forge and Lantern, it's not to say that Forge and Lantern are irrelevant, but these are things that I kind of have a little bit more... Like, basically, the stuff from Cultist Simulator, I suspect I'm going to wind up tripping over myself in terms of relying on old familiarity. But in this case here, these are things which I'm immediately going to respond to when I see them under recommendations, whereas something like Scale, I'm probably not going to. So... Mr. and Mrs. Kill. Mr. Kill, the midwife, is tall and gloomy. Mr. Kill is the Undertaker's slight and wry. In these troubled times, both are wary of strangers. You need a suitably marked introduction. Check the slot. So in this case, we would need an introduction, and it'd have to be lantern, sky, grail, heart, winter, and moon. Or moon. So I suspect I'm going to need introductions. Oh, no, that's right. We don't. So I need to somehow recover Shapt. But the Sweet Bones, after the restoration of 1930, the new king's agents came looking for his enemies in these parts. And they weren't gentle about it. Since those days, the locals are suspicious of foreigners. No one in the Sweet Bones will talk to me. So I am intrigued by this idea of the new king of the 1930s. One of this would be, I suppose one of the questions would be, are there sort of different histories between Cultist Simulator and Book of Hours? The post office. The postmistress may have something for me once I know what to ask for. So journal or readable, and it can't be soaked. So again, in my view here, one of my first objectives is going to be to fix my book. The smithy, Denzel Smith has more work than he needs, and he rarely opens his door to strangers. You'll need an introduction marked with Edge, Forge, or Grail. So, in this case here, it would seem to me that Reverend Timothy, I need Element of the Soul. So, and it has to be, Faust. Reverend Timothy's door is always open to me. Timothy will offer to help for free as a friend. Reverend Timothy always jumps at the offer of your company. So in this case, ask Reverend Timothy about something specific, or leave this empty to wait for him to finish with his correspondence and lend his assistance. So I'm not sort of drowned anymore, so let's talk about the book. Try out a book. Reverend Timothy is not a man to miss an opportunity for conversation, so the whole business takes longer than it might, but he's anxious to help. Dawn, the hour that dreams are brighter and winds colder. Flecker. Reverend Timothy, wait, we've got that. So, stone-studded book, dull, gleaming, yellowish stones. Amber? I feel that I should know. Okay. There's definitely some pretty heavy suggestions already in the opening moments here. So, journal. I began before this book, and I'll end... I began before this book, and it'll end when I do. Uncatalogued. There's nothing as safe as ignorance, or dangerous. Near a wolf. Readable. There are worse things to put in your eyes than this. Knock, and our mystery. So we fatigued our elements of the soul here, but we do have something to talk about, and I believe that would be something for the post office now. Something for me. The postmistress regards me with the chilly gaze of a goddess image in an ancient hill shrine. The librarian, she says, "Yes, I have something for you. Wait here, please." The postmistress returns with an envelope addressed to the librarian, Hush House, Brandkrug Isle, postmarked in Wales a week ago. Welcome. The Trust congratulates me on my appointment as librarian of Hush House. The Trust assures me that it will provide the promised stipends, the funds for the maintenance of the library, but reminds me that its resources are limited and suggests I seek local assistance in restoring the premises. Let us know when you're all set up and ready to receive visitors, it concludes. It's signed simply the trustees. And a 10-shilling note, half a pound, but not half a note. A recent innovation. Oh, what? You haven't picked it up already, Chucky Man Game? I mean, it's been out for a week. Where have you been? So this will be available 10 o'clock Pacific time on the 6th. And if you would like to see the developers play it, that will be 10 o'clock on the 9th on Steam. Okay, cool. I'm really liking... so I realized that I've not been making a ton of progress on this, but I am curious what your impressions are while I'm going through. I may need to take a second to get some more tea, because obviously I stumbled over the opening here. But I am kind of curious what people's impressions of these first moments have been. And if you have some thoughts, I realize I don't have the different parts of the soul available, but I know there's been some discussion about whether or not people are what your starts are going to be. So I'm kind of curious. This is serious library business. Tea is absolutely... yeah, that's what I'm thinking, Cree. But yeah, I don't know. Like, this is obviously... I know a lot of you are really looking forward to this, and I'm feeling no small amount of pressure about that fact. But I am kind of curious what your feelings are. Okay, so we don't have an introduction unless the welcome. Sorry, I should have paid attention to that. So that is just a letter. I could reply to this when I'm at a writing desk, which probably will be in the old rectory. And I don't think there's anything else for me to do at the beach here, but... Nope. So best I can do, yeah. No, it has to have knocker lantern. Okay. So it seems to me like I'm actually going to have to wait for the passage of time here. There we go. Oh, man. I should have checked this with the book. Well, you know what? Life has consequences. So I'm going to have to mess around with those memories a little bit more, because I think what I was supposed to do was consider my journal, storm so scattered my thought. You know what? Actually, sorry. I'm going to be corny. Let's see where the save takes me. No! My journal, the storm so scattered my thoughts. Okay, these are going to get lost no matter what. That's what I get. My journal, I'm sure of it. The storm scattered my thoughts, but each page I turn is familiar. I begin to recall now why I came here, and the 2 lives I've lived. More about your origin and your aspirations in your journal. Oh, that's another font. Okay. Sorry, there is one more thing I want to try on the reload, and that's to see if I can just use the memory. Ah! I keep forgetting to pause. Am I alone here? Okay, so I can't consider these... I can't consider these in isolation. Yeah, so in this case, there's nothing lost with these memories yet. All right, my journal, I'm sure of it. The storm scattered my thoughts, but each page I turn is familiar. I begin to recall now why I came here and the 2 lives I've lived. More about your origin and your aspirations in your journal. Sight, perception, inspiration, all the glorious gifts, one of the 9 parts of the human soul. So, I mean, presumably I can just consider this again. There we go. Lantern, ignorance. This book holds a lantern mystery. To study the book successfully, add lantern equal to mystery lantern. So this seems pretty straightforward. Surely we just add the Faust and we're done. I begin to understand. You've provided enough lantern to match mystery lantern. Can't put that there. So I don't think I have any skills yet. Revelations. Okay. Let's also see if we can maybe convince our way in. After the restoration of 1930, the new king's agents came looking for his enemies in these parts, and they weren't gentle about it. Since those days, the locals are suspicious of foreigners. No one in the Sweet Bones will talk to me. The Silver Tongue. A tough audience. I have charmed tougher. Eventually, the other patrons unbend enough to let me buy them a pint and let me listen to them complain about the weather. I'll find a warmer welcome here next time. And for some reason, that didn't fatigue the Shapt. Memory Solace. So that is a sky and a heart. Yeah, that's the thing for me, irrepressible. Now, there's nothing saying that we're necessarily in a different history than the one that Cultus Simulator takes place in, but the idea of a 1930 restoration definitely indicates it's not the one we would be thinking of, at least to my understanding. Cards and objects can go here, but not all cards or objects. So pence or element of the soul. Now we could just put the note here, assistance from a miner. In the spring, the local miners often travel to the Feast of Lights below. If one breaks his journey at the Sweet Bones, a shilling will buy his labor for a day. Miners offer scale and a little moon. So I'm not quite ready to spend our money yet. But we did have our revelations. So I'm the twice-born librarian of Hush House, and this is the journal in which I keep my remaining memories. The twice-born hopes to master the illumination wisdom to find their third choice, but you can complete the game by mastering any wisdom. So, memories the twice-born. I remember that I once walked the House of the Sun as a bodiless immortal, but there was a matter that could only be resolved if I returned to flesh. Now, if I go back to the House of the Sun, I will be hunted and punished. If I stay in flesh, I will be hunted and devoured. I need a third choice. Lesson, Auroral Contemplations. I've gained more understanding of auroral contemplations. Use this card with consider or at a desk. A new skill to those to know what will... Sorry. A new skill to know what will pass in what has passed. I'm just trying to think. Yeah, so introductions are pretty much a non-starter. Repairs. Hush House has been empty for 7 years. Those 7 years have rendered the bridge perilous. So it would seem to me this is what we use the miner for. But let's see if we can maybe do some... I kind of want to make sure that I'm able to sort out my other considerations first. So, a new skill to know what will pass in what has passed. Another leaf in the Tree of Wisdoms. Roll contemplations to know what will pass in what has passed. The practitioners of this discipline see endings and beginnings, passages and transitions in the same mode as dawn and sunset. Lantern. Life is a pure flame, and we live by an invisible sun within us. Thomas Brown. Lantern is the principle of the secret place, sometimes called the House of the Sun, and of the light above it. Illumination. Illuminates, purify the self and its surroundings. Eventually, they often cease to see any difference between the two. Skill. Anything can be learnt, everything can be forgotten. Nyctodromy. Traveling at night is neither faster nor safer. That's why we do it. Knowledge of the ways and byways of the transmundane. And edge. All conquest occurs at edge. One who dwells there is blind, and another cannot be wounded. Another strong and grows stronger. So it makes me wonder, should I just keep considering... Oh, apparently I can't. What's the deal here then? Use this card with consider or at a desk. And yet, if I do that here, I don't have the option anymore. All right, I've already mastered this text, but I could reread it and perhaps recall a memory. So I need to apply myself. I'm curious, if I just apply my health... Interesting. Now, if I recall correctly, the Tree of Wisdom scholars and adepts recognize the 9 wisdoms, though they disagree where one wisdom ends and another begins. Something for me to think about. Okay, so this is not for that use yet. I think the idea here, rescue journal, my memories lie curled in my journal like seed in winter earth. Once you've rescued and read your journal, use it to unlock the tree. Ah, okay. The roots of memory. There are always choices, and so there are always regrets. Exploring the tree. Every skill could belong to one of two wisdoms. Decide which by assigning it here. This will grow your understanding of the wisdom and reward you with an element of the soul card. So in this case, we get to pick Illumination or Nyctodromy. Which do I choose, though? So I suppose given the... Was it the Shapt? So the Shapt is the Forge. The Faust is the Lantern. So those do kind of go well together. The first sun rises, yesterday's light determines the colors of tomorrow, and through illumination we learn that, we all begin in light. And alternatively, we can go for Fet. Each journey is a day, and we are tested as travelers and as pilgrims. That is the part of these these contemplations play in the Nyctodromy. So it's tricky actually, because in one sense we can go down specialization, or we can go down, we can get even more of the skill that we already have. I think in this case I'm going to go for variety, and I'm curious if it's going to lock me down a particular path. Oh, interesting. Not yet unavailable in the early draft edition. Unreleased. Something is needed here that none of us have. This marks material that will only be available later, not in this early version. So if I consider... Okay, they're still not going to let me work on that. Interesting. It turns out I didn't actually get the... I didn't get the skill that was promised. Every skill could belong to one of two wisdoms. Decide which by assigning it here. This will grow your understanding of the wisdom and reward you with an element of the soul card. But it seems to me like we didn't get that. Okay. Let's figure out some more steps. So if there's nothing else that we can do, then we are going to... Oh, interesting. So if I try help with letters, I could offer help with correspondence and arithmetic. There's no school in Brandkrug, and not everyone here knows their letters. If I try and use my silver tongue again, fixing and mending, there's not much work on offer in Brandkrug, but I could find sixpence worth of odd jobs. And manual labor, there's not much work. Okay, so same for both of those. Again, we're probably going to need to work on repairs here. So assistance from a miner. Miners offers... No, sorry, scale and a little moon. So that doesn't actually help us here. So we can speak with Reverend Timothy. Reverend Timothy's door is always open to me. So what do I want to study? Let's do help with letters, and then I'm going to talk with Timothy. Assistance from Reverend Timothy. Ah. Well, that doesn't give me anything. Reverend Timothy always jumps at the offer for company. Oh, interesting here. Okay. Rector's assistants, Reverend Timothy, rector of Brandkrug, ordained by the Church of the Unconquered Sun, a learned man, blessed in the tally, the gate, and the light. Make use of the rector's help before dawn. So here we've got assistance, we've got lantern, knock, and an introduction. So again, remembering that one of our goals here will be the repairs. This doesn't quite fit, right? We've got forge, lantern, and sky. If we try to add him here, doesn't do the trick. Or actually, hang on, does it? What did I get right? Lantern. Sorry, I'm an idiot. Keeper's Lodge, a cottage where Hush House's groundskeeper lived until the fire. If I can get into the place and make it habitable, I can use it as a base for reclaiming more of the house. So that's going to need assistance, forge, knock, or heart. Okay, I'm sorry to do it without music. I'm wondering if there's a way for me to get that back. I'm gonna take a quick second for myself to get some tea. I'm really interested in this. One small thing I would kind of like, and I suspect this will change with the resolution, but I'd love it if I could just zoom the game out a little bit. But I'm sorry to do this to you, but it has been about an hour and a half. I'm feeling like I'm starting to kind of get my hands around this thing. And I am fascinated, but I would really love to know, particularly for some of you who have been waiting to see Book of Hours. I'm curious what you think of this right now, because I'm very intrigued, but I'm the one who is currently playing. And if you would like me to sort of focus on a few more things, or to kind of talk about some things that I haven't been working on yet, I can definitely do my best to try and steer things one way or the other. But I am going to take a very small break for myself. I'm going to get some tea, and then we'll be ready to go. So I'm going to put up the break sign. I will also encourage you. Oh, my break sign is covered by the game. I'm going to just take a little bit longer because I need to boil the kettle and all of that. So if you have not taken a break, if you haven't done a stretch or anything like that, now would not be a bad time. I'm going to run some ads because I got to pay the rent. No, but it's actually usually a good way to get people to go and maybe make a tea for themselves, and it makes me money. So I will see you all in a little bit. Okay, so sorry about the wait there. I did want to. This is an off day for me on streaming, so I do need some of that dead leaves in my tea. But yeah, I'm really liking some of the positive comments about the game in here, and I think there's a few things that I like about this. So I could be maybe just pushing a little bit more on this than I should be, but I do sort of like how you have um, these kind of repetitions of different ideas. So you've got your character, their lost memory, their healing, but of course you've got your book, right, which you are also taking care of. You're getting better and you are remembering things just as you're treating your journal. Um, I definitely understand that there's going to be like the rooms and the unlocking of different parts of Hush House, but of course we start off by unlocking the different parts of the world, the village, and that's also sort of serving as the game. So I like that these things are sort of just kind of being reinforced in all these little ways. And I don't know, like again, obviously the attitude or the kind of the feeling of the game is quite a bit more relaxed, and I really appreciate that as well. So there is a certain nervousness, right? Because like I think when I can't remember if I did Cultist Simulator completely in the dark, or if I'd played a little bit and I said, you know what, this is kind of interesting, so I think I'll put it on stream. But um I've got a lot invested in Cultist Simulator, right? So the idea of putting on a show from people who are really looking forward to it, and doing so without sort of the advanced knowledge from some of the blogs on that does make me a little nervous. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I am really liking this idea of like I'm. This is probably not what I would have imagined if somebody sat down and said, "Okay, the next game that's getting made is the library game," and yet. One of the biggest reasons for feeling that for me is the lack of imagination that I have. This seems to deliver on that premise in a really big and really interesting way. And what I think is even more interesting for me is that as a fan of the Secret Histories, there's a lot of really interesting things that have sort of been dangled in front of me here, right? So we have this 1930s restoration. We have the mystery in the book, right? Um, Mystery and mastery. I'm well acquainted with his text. I have, you know, um, a few new things. So, for instance, we haven't seen scale, so far as I can tell, in Cultist Simulator. Um, and then the parts of the soul, right? Shaft and Faust and the wisdoms. There's all of these new things that are being brought in. Some of them are sort of mysteries to me, the player. Some of them are mysteries to the character. But there's just enough little things inside here where I have the again sort of the tantalizing glimpses on this bigger world. But rather than it just being someone describes my dreams to me perfectly, and I'm trying to pay the rent. In this case here, I am able, I guess a little bit like one of the reasons why I like libraries. I'm able to sort of pick something up and kind of take a look at it and, um, take my time, which I appreciate. But let's get on with the show. So I do have health that I can employ um, towards my tasks. I can use Timothy for a I can use Timothy for another introduction. So the Keeper's Lodge, I need assistance, and I need either 2 Forge, 2 Knock, or a Heart. I feel like there was, yeah, so Crowcross Sands, we need assistance, and I think that's Moon, yeah, and Winter. Let's see what happens when I use my my Faust with... One of the things I am slightly curious about as well, so if you notice here, right, we've got Lantern, the principal of the secret place. Sky doesn't necessarily seem to be introducing like new principles. It seems to be something different, but I am trying to get the distinction between them. You like the time? That's a good point. So midday before the Great Division, this was the hour when priests led hymns to the sun and splendor. Now noon, as they say, is not as it was. Perhaps the new king will change that. Okay, so what's the consequence of helping out with the letters? An afternoon spent profitably, reading newspapers to the curious, writing affectionate letters for the lonely, steering farmers through the requirements of the Ministry of Agriculture. I've got a 6pence for that. The silver coin of least value, but silver nonetheless. Sorry, nonetheless. Okay, so I've more or less exhausted my abilities. This is another thing that I think is really interesting. Is I'm still trying to figure out why I'm not able to act on these. Because I have a feeling they're going to go away. Like, unless I can find something to do with these, I'm probably in trouble. Yeah, if I... Fair arrangement. 1 shilling, 12 pence will hire a casual laborer's services. I will employ my strength to the task at hand. Yeah, maybe we'll use Timothy for the introductory... Well, actually, we may not be able to use Timothy for the introduction for the Smoky Room. We've got Cool Colt says, these games always look so hard from the perspective of someone that doesn't know what's happening. Oh, well, we're in the same boat. And you just got here, but this is looking very lovely so far. So thrilled to be able to try it out soon. I agree. I mean, obviously, I am in a lucky position to be able to play this a little early. But it's fun. I mean, like, so the thing, for those of you, I appreciate actually that a lot of you are new to the channel. I don't normally like self-promoting stuff on Reddit, but I weighed that against the fact that I suspected a number of people would I suspected that that most people would want at least the option. So the journal I have has I've now got mystery and mastery, but I don't recall. I feel like I had something other than knock here, but yes, I have looked at the Twiceborn among the others. Sorry, what was I going to say? But yeah, no, with that in mind, I figured giving people the option. But yeah, for me, for those of you who are familiar with my stuff, obviously I've been doing the Exile DLC, and I remember the Exile DLC very much made me feel kind of like those first moments with Cultist Simulator again, to be able to sort of try something completely new that I didn't necessarily I kind of had a broad idea about what it was, but maybe not I didn't really know what I was in store for. And so, that, by the way, is still going to keep going on YouTube. But in the case of Book of Hours, it's really neat to see something in the world, especially because most of my time now has sort of been spent learning a little bit more about all the different cards and aspects inside of the secret histories. But in this case here, right, to be able to, to have a brand new experience in this world, in the form of Book of Hours. And it's so clear just how huge this game is, I think is really neat. Anyways, got my next sixpence. So if I need, I should be able to wait. So I can't just... Interesting. I'm gonna have to find a way to turn... Apparently they will not accept the sixpence or 2 sixpence. I have to figure out a way of working through that. Okay. I don't quite want to use the 10 shilling note yet. I want to look at what I have available to me first. But one option I do have is just wait for the evening to finish. I don't think there's anything else I can do with consider. Oh, hang on. There is one other thing I can do with consider. And that is to use the... Nope. I think because these are fatigued... Oh, God, I'm reading skill in lantern totally wrong. But yeah, I think we just wind up losing these. Afternoon the hours when we may anticipate tea or celebrate it. I haven't sipped the tea yet. I just have it in front of me. Dusk. Night from day, silver from gold. Now comes the time of the Menescate, the sun's night self. I feel like I should be doing something at this point, but under the wisdoms, again, one of the reasons why we went down this path was to try and get the fat. That didn't really seem to turn out for me. So with the smithy, we're waiting for an introduction. For the post office, we can do outgoing mail, but we don't have any of that. Timothy, we don't have any of myself to apply. We need an introduction for Mr. and Mrs. Kill. The Sweet Bones, again, I'm being cheap. So in this case, we're sort of waiting for the day to sort of wrap up. Dusk, night from day, silver from gold. Oh, night has fallen. Dawn will come soon. I can speed things up a little bit. Your journal has knock, can use it in the study. Which study are you referring to? This thing? Because it also, I believe, needs the element of the soul, right? A thing may only go here if it has all these aspects, element of the soul. How's the demo been for so far? So Sheepy Amaya, I had a few stumbles at the start. One thing that I also noticed, the small letterboxing effect that you see here is I believe the resolution is fixed, which made it a little tricky for me to read the font just based on the monitor that I have. But I'm really, really intrigued by this so far. I was actually just doing a little bit of a review running through this. So I like the fact that... So, there's the ideas of sort of healing, not just the books, but yourself as well. And the idea of sort of opening things up and discovering Hush House and all of that. And I like that it's sort of showing itself in a few different ways. So I'm not like Hush House is not yet available to me. I actually have to unlock it. I'm feeling lost on a few things, but that was true with Cultist Simulator as well. So a little bit like Exile, it's a chance for me to sort of have that enjoyment all over again. Dawn, the hour that dreams are brighter and winds colder. Flecker. So far I'm feeling very well disposed towards the demo, Sheepy Amaya. But I will also say I'm also quite early in it, and I've been a bit of a moron. So I have a feeling that, well, number one, I always get like infinitely more clever as soon as I turn off the stream. but I really did not want to play the demo in private. Okay, so we still keep the lessons. But yeah, other than that, other than kind of the streamer dilemmas, this is just great stuff so far. So let's start by seeing whether or not I can do any consideration. No, so there's something about auroral contemplation. Use this card with consider or at a desk. So there's something that stops me after using one of these to apply it elsewhere, which is fine. We'll see. So if we tried Fost, wait, we don't have the skill though. So I'm going to leave that aside. If I want to, so the minor, it says here, minors offer scale and a little moon. So what's helpful here, right, is to consider, so it says a little moon, if it doesn't offer 2, it's a waste. And in this case, scale's not required. So Timothy is our best bet. And if Timothy doesn't help with either of these tasks, we can still use him for these other regions. So I'm so excited about this, by the way, but I've been slowly binging my Cultist Simulator playthroughs. I'm on the Priest playthrough right now. Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you for saying that. I love to meet people through this. So yeah, I mean, plenty of secret history stuff to chew on, for sure. But I'm obviously most looking forward to what people are thinking of the new one of Book of Hours. Okay, let's speak with Reverend Timothy. Reverend Timothy's door is always open to me, and Reverend Timothy always jumps at the offer of your company. So we're gonna take a second here and see what Timothy gets me, because I wasn't paying too close of attention. Reverend Timothy, rector of Brankurg, ordained by the Church of the Unconquered Sun, a learned man, blessed in the tally, the gate, and the light. So we've got knock, lantern, introductions, and assistance. So as a reminder, exploring the house requires 2 knocks. So I believe if we put Timothy there, it doesn't give us enough, which, as you can see, is true. Now this requires moon and winter, so again, we wouldn't expect to be able to work with Timothy, and that turns out. But we can use the introduction. Oh, hang on, that's not going to work, because it needs Edgeforge or Grail. But an introduction to Mr. and Mrs. Kill will work. So a mutual acquaintance has induced the Kills to invite me for a fish supper. If I'm lucky, fish supper may mean Mrs. Kill's celebrated gallets. So far, this seems way more clear on what you need to do to make something work. That was often where you struggled in Cultist Simulator, a little less intentionally opaque. Yeah, well, I'm wondering if that's a function of Weather Factory becoming more experienced in making these kinds of games, or if this is actually a result of the very conscious effort to make a little bit more of a relaxed game. Because it could really go either way, right? And again, I like the fact that I'm just familiar enough with some of the mysteries in this setting that there are some tantalizing glimpses kind of dangled out in front of me. There's definitely some things that I want to know more about. But those aren't necessarily tied to me, like, staying alive, let's say. Oh, I haven't read this yet. Okay, Cradles and Coffins. Mr. Kill pumps my hand. Just me and thee and the missus tonight, eh? Well, there's a client in the back, but if thee don't bother he won't bother thee. The Kill's household is now available. So, departure, someone has finished their work, and now they're going home. And memory satisfaction, some appetites are easier to satisfy than others. Mrs. Kill, the midwife, is tall and gloomy. Mr. Kill, the undertaker, is slight and wry. For 10 years, she has drawn villagers into the world, and he has shaped cradles for their departure. But she can also whittle, and he can also paint. So, elements of the soul. In this case, I would need Grail or Winter. Do I have that? No, I'm useless to the kills. That's interesting. Also, where did my other Faust go? Maybe it'll decay into that. But yeah, I don't think there's a lot that I can actually do with the kills in this current form. Yeah, I really feel like I've lost my Faust somewhere. Oh, here we go. So again, I have the option of talking with Reverend Timothy, but the question is, what does that get me? So yeah, it needs Grail or Winter. So we always have the Sweet Bones as an option. So help with letters, fixing and mending. Trying to think of other uses I would have for memory right now. So if I just consider the memory on its own, that doesn't really get me a whole lot. If I bring in the journal, it says I need to apply myself and then the skill. So this is the part that... So if I just start on its own, that's one thing. Already mastered this text, but I could reread it and perhaps recall a memory. But I'm just trying to think what the memory might do. Well, let's start and see what happens. And I think at this point here, let's use the 10 shilling note, because I don't have that much else to do right now. So in spring, the local miner... Oh, hang on. Yeah. In spring, the local miners often travel to the Feast of Lights below. If one breaks his journey at the Sweet Bones, a shilling will buy his labor for a day. Miners offer scale and a little moon. Okay. Lots of sixpence. Shilling. A half crown. Crown, and there's the miner's assistance. Thus they more or less ruled themselves with the help of their wild Celtic temperament, made wilder by the hardness of their lives and the truly ghastly conditions under which they worked. With all this, it is not to be wondered that the Tinners acquired the reputation of being scarcely human. But it must be remembered that among them at all times were those whose characteristics could stand comparison with the best of men. L. Russell Muirhead. Now, here's something I'm noticing. So we've got assistance, we've got an introduction, we've got moon, forge, and scale. So I can use them for an introduction to the smithy. It seems, though, like they're not going to be able to help me with Crowcross Sands, right? Because they don't have enough moon. And then exploring the house, it's only the one forge, so that's not going to help me either. The wide release for the demo will be on Monday, the 6th, August, and then there will be the developer stream on the 9th. Both of those start at 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock Pacific time. That tea hits the spot. Okay. Isa Sin, so I'm late. I've been running around packing. No, I completely understood the circumstances, but I figured you might like the art style. Oh my god. Why am I not getting the visuals? There we go. Thank you very much for the subscription. Okay, so bribing the miners is our way to the smithy. So, firelit doorway. A mutual acquaintance will introduce me to Denzel the Smith. I might get 6 or even 10 words out of him if I'm patient. Something to consider. Memory revelation. Some truths come to us from outside or above. So again, nothing to consider on its own. We can always try... Well, sorry, it's not a skill, so it doesn't really matter. All right. Denzel is a surprising source of practical advice. The smithy is now available. And more foresight memory. Okay. So the biggest thing I'm trying to do right now is get the assistants. So Denzel Smith, strong as an oak, blackened by smoke. He will never surpass his father, and he is no longer a soldier, but he still has his craft. So, Smoky Room practical matters. We can use heart, forge, or edge. Now, fortunately, most of these we're able to work with. So we've got the heart, and Shapt will also get us some forge. So if I use heart, speak with Denzel, Denzel will talk about practical matters, though he prefers to sit in silence. 2 shillings will buy his help for a day. Or, okay, so both of those do the same thing. 12 pence, or if you prefer, 1/20th of a pound. Half crown, 2.5 shillings, obviously. 5 shillings, 1/4 of a pound, and then we've got the 6 pence. So yeah, the low value things. I gotta manage my money well. Okay, Denzel will talk about practical matters, though he prefers to sit in silence. 2 shillings will buy his help for a day. Lousy change. So, I don't know about having so many 6 pence. What do you need? This is very deliberately messing with me on the currency. All right. So, Denzel the blacksmith will lend me his strength for the day. Make use of the blacksmith's help before dawn. Anyway, sorry. Sin, I was the main reason why I was curious was, or I wanted to know what your thought of the art style was for this, and I thought you might appreciate it for some reason, and I don't know why, but I feel like you'd really like. Oh, hang on, it's not night, so I gotta wait. So yeah, in this case, blacksmith won't help me with the beach, but it will help me with the keeper's lodge. A cottage where Hush House's groundskeeper lived until the fire. If I can get into the place and make it habitable, I can use it as a base for reclaiming more of the house. And there we go. Hey, it's all like XCOM and stuff. What's going on in there? Oh, man. Well, here are our books. Oh, this is what we were looking for. This is what we've been waiting for. You're not a fan of the art? That's a shame. Where did I get this from? Okay. Oh no. Make them big again. Please. I don't have room for everything. So cranial Trotsky, we all of us come to this condition in the end, but not all of us are fortunate enough to be lovingly buffed and fixed carefully to a stylish wooden stand. And a snoodle jar, useful for calcination, purification, alteration, and valuable for snootlery. All right, so we've got Traveling at Night, Volumes 1 and 2, the annotated dream journals of Christopher Illopoli, sometimes called the only readable occultist, literate, entertaining, bewildering. So we've got Edge Mysteries and Knock Mysteries. We've got The Turquoise Hand, the calligraphic manual of Ramsund, which employs as exemplar a text Ferd Undin's Conference of the Birds. Its commentary, illustrations, and interleavings carry revelations never intended in the original. So this is a 9 Grail mystery. Codex. Pages, cover, spine, knowledge decently tucked away like organs. Written in Ramsund. This language has been called Mantik al-Ta'ir and Lenga Asuel, and the speech of birds, and Ramsund, and the hazelnut tongue. But it's a language of secrets, and its true name may never be used. The aviform hours use it at their roost, or so the story goes. We got the Tripled Heart. The sister of the Triple Knot was disbanded long ago by the church, but the author of this notorious novel always claimed to have seen the rites still practiced in secret. Most of the details are salacious, ridiculous, or both, but there are likely some fragments of truth. Forge Mysteries, Codex readable. Deratio Kirkum. In Persia, Taxus Baccata is called Snorkdar, which is the red tree, where they had long understood the Grail root. In later times, the great king of Pontus had beehives set in the branches of the oldest of the female trees. The berries open the door to death, but the honey of their flowers opens a different door entirely. This was not his Mithridate. I don't know if it's Mithridate or Mithridate, but one who has suckled at the great yew fears poison no longer. Perhaps they should. So this is a Grail mystery. Now, it would seem to me that with the satisfaction memory, we may be able to do something with that. But it's written in Latin, and I don't think I have Latin. The Debate of 7 Cups. Time is pure flame, and we live by an invisible sun within us. So Codex, Moon Mysteries, and Readables. So, given what I have here, I don't think I have any Edge memories right now. Oh, we have the lesson. Fractured mirror. Your face in this glass looks scarred, older, harsher. A certain door in dreams, it is said, opens only when one sleeps before a newly cracked. But this mirror was cracked long ago, and any door that opened for it is long forgotten. Keeper's bed. Stout, rustic, snug. Cards and objects can go here, but not all cards or all objects. And beverage, there are some things it's wiser to drink in the morning, and others it's wiser to drink in the evening. Home. This is neat. Okay, I'm gonna... Oh, can I not? Please, let me put the skull back where it belongs. Oh, this is neat. So you get to store the books wherever. Okay, Watchman's Tower, Gatehouse, the Great Gate of Hush House. Entering this room will end the demo. That's all for now. So we don't get to... I don't believe we get to rebuild Hush House. That's fair. But it seems to me like there's plenty more for us to do here. So let's start working on the books. We'll maybe start with Traveling at Night, and we'll pick up a few. Seems like we can't do anything about the... I really like the descriptions for these, by the way. So if I consider Grail frustration, this book holds a Grail mystery. To study the book successfully, add Grail equal to mystery Grail. So in this case, we would take our... Oh, nope. So this is a question of my abilities, which is different from my memories. Now, I don't have any assistants now, so... It also said something about working at a desk, which I would have thought if we're going to be closing the demo by opening this area, do we not have a desk that we can work on? Guess not. Okay. So I've got Sky, Lantern, Heart, and Scale. None of which I think are really going to help me out here. So yeah, this book holds an edge mystery. To study this book successfully, add edge equal to mystery edge. Which, again, we don't currently have. Okay, well, let's let things run by. Trying to think of how I can somehow combine the sixpence into something valuable, but let's actually, there is another thing that I want to check out here. So we've got Forge, which I don't think we have. Yeah. That's Grail, so none of these are really going to help me out here. Hello, Erasmus. Yes. Demo of Book of Hours. Okay, so what do I want to do with my skills while I mean, I can make more sixpence, but I don't think money is the thing that we're really worried about right now. I can always try the health again, but I would need to pay him for the privilege, and I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure what I want from him. It would seem to me that being able to talk with the cows would be nicer. So, what am I going to do? Let's start with help with letters. We might as well at least make a little bit of money. For can't put that there. That thing must have at least one. Oh, okay, neat. I have no idea where the skull and the snoodle thing. Anyways. Oh, here they are. Try and put those back. Again, the sixpence is nice and all, but it doesn't actually get us anything. There we go. So, Sin, the one thing I was gonna... Yeah, they are. This is one thing I really like, the way that the stars are kind of hanging in the sky like this. It's a feature I'm very fond of. But yeah, as you can probably guess here, I'm sort of just waiting for the day to go through. I'll make the most that I can with the cash. But in this case, I think I'm sort of limited in what I can do right now. I'm going to wait for the next day just to see what I've got available to me skills-wise for the books. And then following that, we'll see if we can maybe make a little bit more progress. Dawn, the hour that dreams are are brighter and winds colder. I do miss the music. I really wish it would kind of come back. Okay, so my skills are back. So we do have knock available to us. So Shapt gives me knock and forge. Faust gives me lantern and sky. So all that we can really work with is the knock at this point, but that's fine because that still gives us something we can make some progress with. Oh, don't talk about it. Read it. So, Locked and Barred. This book holds a knock mystery. The annotated dream journals of Christopher Loppley, sometimes called the only readable occultist. Literate, entertaining, bewildering. So we had Shapt. I begin to understand. You provided enough knock to match the mystery knock. And again, it says here skills, but we don't actually have any yet. So, well, I actually quite like the I like the break in terms of like not having music constantly. Industries of Titan does this very well as well. But in this case, I suspect the music is triggered with certain events, and because I've been taking my sweet time to get stuff done, that's probably why we haven't heard some songs for a bit. But anyways, a gate flung wide. So let's see what we get here. To understand, I mastered a mystery in this book and gathered the lessons it concealed. So, Codex, Mystery Knock, Readable, Mastery Knock. I am well acquainted with this text. So, we've got Lesson Edicts Liminal. I've gained more understanding of Edicts Liminal. Use this card with Consider or at a desk. And for Edicts Liminal, I've so 5 in total. Although, again, I have a suspicion it's going to turn out like the Auroral Contemplations. A new skill, the Precepts of Limitation and Division, established by the enigmatic conclave of Hours, sometimes called the Chancel. I don't believe we've seen the Chancel yet. All right, so we've got Nyctodromy, and we have got Scolicosophy, the study of things that should not be studied. Some call this wisdom. So yeah, we can't consider either of these in isolation. Now. This makes me wonder. So you've got skills here, right? And I've got this in wisdom. So like there's a side of me that wonders, can I just like pull something out here? Because clearly like this doesn't seem to have gotten me anything. Again, I was thinking that we would get the Fen. I'm just going to take a quick second here to make sure that I'm not completely losing my mind here. But yeah, so right now my experience of this skill screen is that things are going in but not coming out. So in this case here, it would make sense for me to try and make the most of the Edict's Liminal. Yeah, I'm reluctant to attribute things to bugs just because even early on I was wondering, oh, is it possible that, because like I know I'm not able to use the leave button in this. I'm always reluctant to sort of say it's a bug in as a first reaction. I know it's a common thing to do sort of as a gamer, but it's the sort of thing that I want to avoid as much as I can. So I think for the most part, it's better for me to just assume that I'm missing a detail somewhere. Oh, am I not able to put this on the shelf now? I guess there's only so many spaces. Okay, so we've got Moth, we've got Lantern to work with. Can we make anything out of this? No. None of these books need what I've got. Well, that's a shame. Okay, well, with that in mind then, we can go for exploring the tree. Every skill could belong to one of two wisdoms. Decide which by assigning it here. This will grow your understanding of the wisdom and reward you with an element of the soul card. Which again is that's the part that I've been questioning here. So our options for hang on. Yeah, so we've already used for the Nycto. All right. Oh, now this is interesting. So I add it here, and it doesn't give me the option to lock it in now. Hello, Tempmine. How you doing? Okay. What am I missing about this? Because I think the last time we did this, there was the option to, like we had the lock-in option. Let's do a restart really quick. If nothing else, it gives people a chance to, oh wow. I got nothing I can do here. So we're gonna back out all the way. If I can. Welcome back, librarian. Everything is remembered. Hush House endures. Okay. So first of all, let's see. Can we do something with the wisdoms? Nope. I am slightly inclined to maybe try going to main screen and see if we can change anything there. Okay. The other thing I'm thinking maybe closing out the game and right, gonna have to close this properly. Is this as good as Cultisim? I mean, it's early for me to say, but I'm having a good time with it. I have run into this one little catch here. There we go. Books are the memory which does not die, inscribed in 5 languages over the gate of Hush House. Go quietly. Book of Hours is not a punishing game unless you want it to be or whatever it is. Let's hit continue. So sorry I'm running out of steam on this a little bit, but I want to just take the chance to make sure there's nothing obvious that I can do to try and fix this. Okay. So, the way I'm going to approach this now is to nuke the save, and I'm going to hit purge, but I'm actually also going to quit out the game, and we're going to jump in one more time, and we're going to go from the very start. So, this is also a little bit of a warning for you. For those of you who are looking to go through, and solve the initial puzzles, I am going to go reasonably quickly through some of these early steps. So, you can decide whether or not that's going to ruin the experience for you or not. But it's not a bad idea to just kind of keep that in mind here. So, St. Brandon's Cove. The fishermen of Brandkrug village beach their boats here each night. The sea does not regret the tide, and after the tide withdraws, something always remains, which we call memory. It's true of storms too. Brandkrug, March 7th, 1936. There's been no librarian at Hush House since the fire, 7 years now. Suitable candidates are very difficult to find, but perhaps we have found one in you. Take care on your journey. The seas around Brandkrug are treacherous. Cold comes first, thunder growling, waves pounding, and finally me, sprawled on the sodden sand of the beach. There's something in my hand. So, health half drowned. Shivers rack my soaked body. Your health is failing, find somewhere to warm up. Memory storm. There are storms great enough to shake the moon from the sky, and one's thoughts from one's skull. And a drowned book, the one possession I kept from the shipwreck. It must be important to me. So, we can salvage. I remember there was a storm. It smashed the ship like an egg, but I seized this book as the sea seized me. Then the sea brought me here to Brandkrug. And Brandkrug is where I wanted to be, but it's hard to remember why. What else did I lose in the storm? So we've got Fett, Core, and Shaft. So we're going to go for the same start that we had before. So eloquence and understanding, the door opens both ways. What remains of me? Words? The human soul has 9 parts. Eloquence and understanding rise from that part of the soul we call shaft. Is my shaft strong? Recover this ability. The other 2 will be lost to the sea for now. This is the coast where Brandkrug Isle lies. My sources briefed me thoroughly about the place, and I know there's no way I can cross to the isle in these seas. I'll need to find shelter for the night. So again, we have Metal, Whist... Metal, Whist, Faust, and Arab, although I believe we went for Faust last time. What remains of me? Light? Faust is the light within. Sight, perception, inspiration. Choose a strong Faust and a past with a pursuer who can see the light within you. The waves will wash away all the other abilities. Perhaps here I'll find safety from what follows me, but what was that exactly? First things first, I remember there's someone in the village who will give me sanctuary, if I can get there. Mysteries have been added to your journal. You can begin to investigate them when you and your journal are both dry. An old friend's address. I first heard of Brandkrug through its rector, Reverend Timothy. For years now I've been exchanging letters with him. I can find shelter for tonight under his roof once I've reached Brandkrug village. The rector can also introduce you to other villagers. There's not much not much more to consider, I think. Can I glean anything from this book? Oh, maybe we can. Shelter? Brandkrug village must be nearby, but it's hard going, dragging my soaked body across the soaked sand in the teeth of this wind. Which way? And I can't glean anything from this book until I've dried it out carefully. Help. Okay. So we've got a cry for help. I wonder if I use the Faust. Nope, that doesn't do it. Wait a minute. Right, because it's half drowned, so... Yeah, so we will do cry for help. Perhaps there's something out there even in this weather. I can fill my lungs and bellow for help. That would also mean I don't need to crawl any further. At last I see the light of a hurricane lamp bobbing in the dark. As it approaches, a face glimmers above the lamp. Fisherman's assistance, a fisherman from Brandkrug village. He can guide me up the cliff path if he trusts me. So he has the elements of sky, windstorm, echo, song, the intricacies of mathematics, and the principles of flight. Law's touch is lighter than we sometimes think. Matters of balance, harmony, and necessity. He has assistance. He is skeptical. Trust can be bought or earned. And moon. Secrets are soft. Night is softer still. The sea speaks. It's not always wise to listen. The nocturnal, the forgotten. So we need to win over the fisherman. Come no closer. What's thy business? And we will use the old friend's address. Allaying suspicion. Be someone that'll speak for ye? Of course. Emmeline Farah, thank you very much for the subscription and welcome. Of course, since 1930 and the Restoration, the locals have grown ever more suspicious of foreigners, but there is something in Brandkrug I know. I'll take ye by the cliffs then. This gentleman is no longer skeptical. Now that I know a little bit about unlocking things, I don't expect the Crosswind Sands to be that helpful here. Yeah, so we don't have enough of the moon. But I was slightly curious, right? In any case, Brandkrug Village, we needed assistance. It needs sky aspect, and it can't have skeptical. And in this case, the fisherman's assistance covers what we need. So we've now opened the village. So we have a few options here, right? We've got the Sweet Bones, Sea of Hostile Faces, Diplomacy, or Bribery. So our options here are Shapt, Core, Metal, Pence, or Assistance. Now, it would seem to me that I can just talk my way in, but we have the Post Office, which requires the journal and it to be readable. It can't be soaked. So this is readable, but it is soaked. We've got the smithy. Now, the smithy actually took some effort on our part to unlock. It basically took us buying the services of one of the miners, Mr. and Mrs. Kill. Now, we don't have an introduction to them. In this case, our introduction is... Oh, actually, hang on. Candles and coffins. A mutual acquaintance has induced the Kills to invite me for a fish supper. If I'm lucky, fish supper may mean Miss Kills celebrate gallants. But in this case, I am going to talk with Timothy. Good heavens, what happened? How did you come here? Shelter at the rectory. Reverend Timothy flutters fussily while Terence, the housekeeper, busies herself with practicalities. She shows me to a warm room at the top of the house where a fire is already made up. One thing I really like about this is actually quite similar to some of the features some of the features of the Locksmith's Dream. So particularly for those who went in the later part of the year, it's winter, it's pretty cold out, and this idea of kind of going out in the night with torches and then coming back in Treo and by the fire, and you use your drink token to have a... Oh, also sorry, Erasmus, I didn't see your comment that the game was going to eat so much of your life. Yeah, this is definitely... There's a lot to... So what I like is that the experience of playing the game at its very basic level is, like, it's straightforward. I don't feel like there is a super deep mystery that I am completely missing here in terms of playing the game. Obviously I had my stumbles at the start, but I feel like I've kind of gotten... I feel like I've gotten a handle of it. But, all the little details that made Cultist Simulator so interesting are there too. And obviously there's just so much more. So I'm really looking forward to putting some extra effort into this. But yeah, anyways, I don't know. There's just something about the start. I don't think this is kind of... I don't think there was sort of an intentional kind of echo of a few of the things that I thought were special about the Locksmith's Dream. But there is just something, right? Again, we talked sort of about healing and the discovery and unlocking things and all of that. But it's, I don't know, inevitably whenever you play these games, you wind up making the connections all over the place. Over breakfast, Reverend Timothy bombards me with questions and opinions. He is touchingly excited to meet his correspondent in person. I'm still too exhausted to hold up my end of the conversation, and Terence is not a talkative woman, but the Reverend can talk for 3. Again, I certainly know the character that I am most relating to in Book of Hours. Memory Foresight, Wits Forge and Fire Blast, meanings Press and Screw, Coleridge on Donne's Poetry. Get you in there. All right. So, I don't have my Shopped available, but I can use Faust. And that's going to help me with Timothy to get the relevant introductions. Oh, and then there was the business of curing the book. So, first things first, let's go for the study. Speak with the Reverend Timothy. Reverend Timothy's door is always open to me. Timothy will offer help for free as a friend. So we've got a few things we can talk about. Let's start by talking about, let's start trying out the book. So Reverend Timothy is not a man to miss an opportunity for conversation, so the whole business takes longer than it might, but he's anxious to help. I think that more or less ties up what we can do on the first day. So Reverend Timothy is, he's anxious to help. So the stone-studded book, dull gleaming yellowish stones. Amber, I feel I should know. So we've got journal, uncatalogued, readable, knock, and it has a lantern mystery. I don't think... Oh, well. Okay. I think I'm going to talk my way into the Sweet Bones. Silver Tongue, a tough audience. I've charmed tougher. We will... Something for me. The postmistress regards me with the chilly gaze of a goddess image in an ancient hill shrine. The librarian, says she. Yes, I have something for you. Wait here, please. And then we will use the Faust to talk with Reverend Timothy. Reverend Timothy's door is always open to me. Timothy will offer help for free as a friend. So here we're really just getting the the assistance. Eventually the other patrons unbend enough to let me buy them a pint and let me listen to them complain about the weather. I'll find a warmer welcome here next time. The The postmistress returns with an envelope addressed to the librarian, Hush House, Brandkrug Isle, postmarked in Wales a week ago. So, welcome. The Trust congratulates me on my appointment as librarian of Hush House. The Trust assures me that it will provide the promised stipends and funds for the maintenance of the library, but reminds me that its resources are limited and suggests that I seek local assistance in restoring the premises. Let us know when you're all set up and ready to receive visitors, it concludes. It's signed simply, the Trustees. And a 10-shilling note, half a pound, but not half a note. A recent innovation. And finally, we've got our assistance from Timothy. Reverend Timothy always jumps at the offer of your company. So, Rector's assistants, Reverend Timothy, Rector of Brandkrug, ordained by the Church of the Unconquered Sun, a learned man, blessed in the tally, the gate and the light. Make use of the Rector's help before dawn. So Timothy has knock, 2-lantern, introduction, and assistance. There's a few things that we can use Timothy for in this case. Now the smith requires heart, forge, or edge, so Timothy doesn't help us for an introduction there. However, for the front room, I need a mutual acquaintance to introduce me to the kills, someone of stature, or someone who shares their interests. So in that case, we could use Timothy for an introduction to the kills. I don't think, yeah, the Sweet Bones helps. Now we've got the Cougar Bridge. Every sod bridges to the Isle. Each bridge lasts 100 years, or 200. Then the sea disposes of it. This, built in the 1890s, is the newest bridge, but that doesn't mean it's new. So in this case, forge, lantern, or sky will help here. But again, it has to be assistance. So next challenge will be the Keeper's Lodge, which requires 2 forge, 2 knock, or a heart. So, let's spend our money. Assistance from a miner. In spring, the local miners often travel to the Feast of Lights below. If one breaks his journey at the Sweet Bones, a shilling will buy his labor for a day. Miners offer scale and a little moon. Miners' assistants. Thus, they more or less ruled themselves with their help of their wild Celtic temperament, made wilder by the hardness of their lives and the truly ghastly conditions under which they worked. With all this, it is not to be wondered that the Tinners acquired the reputation of being scarcely human, but it must be remembered that among them at all times were those whose characters could stand comparison with the best of men. L. Russell Muirhead. So there's the 2 scale. Again, we've got forge and we've got moon, but we don't have them in sufficient quantities. We need 2 moon or 2 winter. And we need 2 forge, 2 knock, or 1 heart. But we can use them as an introduction to the smith. A mutual acquaintance will introduce me to Denzel the Smith. I might get 6 or even 10 words out of him if I'm patient. Okay, Shapt will get me Timothy if I need. Denzel is a surprising source of practical advice. The smithy is now available. The alternative is I can try and provide some kind of a solution. Oh, my journal. The storm so scattered my thoughts. I probably should have looked at that before. Denzel Smith, strong as an oak, blackened by smoke. He will never surpass his father, and he is no longer a soldier, but he still has his craft. Speak with Denzel. Denzel will talk about practical matters, though he prefers to sit in silence. 2 shillings will buy his help for a day. Maybe I should have talked with him about the journal. Anyways. Half crown. What do you need? Blacksmith's assistant. Denzel the blacksmith will lend me his strength for the day. Make use of the blacksmith's help before dawn. This here. My journal, I'm sure of it. The storm scattered my thoughts, but each page I turn is familiar. I begin to recall now why I came here, and the 2 lives I've lived. More about your origin and your aspirations in your journal. I am the twice-born librarian of Hush House, and this is the journal in which I keep my remaining memories. The twice-born hopes to master the illumination wisdom, to find their 3rd choice, but you can complete the game by mastering any wisdom. So I began before this book, and it'll end when I do. Memories the twice-born. I remember that I once walked the House of the Sun as a bodiless immortal, but there was a matter that could only be resolved if I returned to flesh. Now if I go back to the House of the Sun, I will be hunted and punished. If I stay in flesh, I will be hunted and devoured. I need a 3rd choice. It's readable. There are worse things to put in your eyes than this. It has knock. The knock permits no seal and no isolation. It thrusts us gleefully out of the safety of ignorance. The knock is the principle that opens doors and unseams barriers, and it has lantern mystery. So we do have what we need to be able to solve this mystery now. I am slightly curious. I don't think it really matters here. Yeah. I begin to understand. You've provided enough lantern to match the mystery lantern. And I'm actually going to take a second to save here. Okay, onward with the blacksmith. I've mastered the mystery in this book, and I've gathered the lessons it concealed. Okay, so we've got 3 auroral contemplation lessons. I've gained more understanding of auroral contemplations. Use this card with consider or at a desk. I've already mastered this text, but I could reread it and perhaps recall a memory. Still trying to get a bit of a read in terms of what the memories are accomplishing for me, but... Okay, now let's think about the mysteries that I need to deal with, because it seems to me here, Traveling at Night Volume 1, the Auroral Contemplations might be able to help us here. So the Annotated Dream Journals of Christopher Alopoli, sometimes called the only readable occultist. Literate, entertaining, bewildering. So let's consider. Edge powerless. This book holds an edge mystery. To study the book successfully, add edge equal to mystery edge. But we don't have the skill or the soul for it. A new skill, to know what will pass in what has passed. Okay, auroral contemplations, to know what will pass in what has passed. The practitioners of this discipline see endings and beginnings, passages and transitions, in the same mode as dawn and sunset. There we go. Edge, a conquest. I begin to understand. You've provided enough edge to match mystery edge. Now we're making some progress. Should probably see if I have other things I want to do. So being able to unlock Mr. and Mrs. Kill may be an idea. But it is midday, so perhaps we'll wait on that. Before the Great Division, this was the hour when priests led hymns to the sun and splendor. Now noon, as they say, is not as it was. Perhaps the new king will change that. So let's see how far we can go with the books that we have. I've mastered a mystery in this book, and I've gathered the lessons it concealed. So, lesson Disciplines of the Scar. I've gained more understanding of Disciplines of the Scar. Use this card with consider or at a desk. A new skill, to master boundaries through their determination. Disciplines of the Scar, to master boundaries through their determination. So this is good for Lantern and to Edge. So I think we're kind of at the end of our Well, no, we can use the shaft. So, Traveling at Night, Volume 2, the annotated dream journals of Christopher Lompley, sometimes called the only readable occultist. Literate, entertaining, bewildering. I've mastered the mystery in this book and gathered the lessons it concealed. Gate flung wide. So, as before, we consider new skill, the precepts of limitation and division established by the enigmatic conclave, the hours, sometimes called the chancel. And here we've got two moth and a knock to work with. Precepts of limitation and division established by the enigmatic conclave of the hours, sometimes called the chancel. Okay, so let's take stock. So we have mastered traveling at night. Okay, so we don't have any moon that we can offer for this yet. Duratio Kerkum, we need Grail. And again, I don't think we have any Grail that we can apply there yet. We have the Tripled Heart, so that's going to require a reasonably large amount of Forge, which we don't have. And then the Turquoise Hand, which also requires quite a bit of Grail. So in its current form, we're at our limit in terms of what we can do with the books. That doesn't mean, it doesn't mean we're completely sunk. It just means we need, we need a kind of a game plan in terms of where things are going to go. So Watchman's Tower, Gatehouse, the Great Gate of Hush House, entering this room will end the demo. That's all for now. This just requires assistance. So we're not ready to end the demo yet. As far as mysteries are concerned, so there are a few books that I want to try and work with. I don't know if there's anything about the objects like the mirror, the skull, and so on and so forth. For 500 years, in the times we call baronal curia nocturnal, there was always a keeper to watch the ways. We weed the gardens, mend the roof when the sun was shining. There's no keeper now, but the lodge's roof still weathers the storm of Brandkrug Bay. So, in terms of things that I want to do here, one, it would be nice to get these remaining books. We can unlock the Kill House, which I believe is the last thing that we want to do. As far as talk is concerned, so it's either assistance or visitor. We don't have either of those right now. Maybe an idea to talk with Timothy at some point, but of course we would need some of our abilities open in this case. And again, if we can, it'd be nice to sort of work out assistance. So I am going to do one thing here, and I'm going to do another save. So in this case, we're going to say skills. And this is going to be the time where I start applying things in the wisdom. So, rescue journal. My memories lie curled in my journal like a seed in winter earth. Once you've rescued and read your journal, use it to unlock the tree. So there are always choices, and so there are always regrets. Okay, so we've assigned, as you can see, we got the journal back, and we've opened up new areas here. So, exploring the tree. Every skill could belong to one of two wisdoms. Decide which by assigning it here. This will grow your understanding of the wisdom and reward you with an element of the soul card. So this is the part that was a little weird to us, right? Is that we put in the card, but we didn't seem to get the stated reward. So I have a few options here. As far as what gets doubled up, so we've got Disciplines of the Scar. Now, it's worth remembering that we're working on illumination if we can. The first sunrise. Yesterday's light determines the colors of tomorrow, and through illumination, we learn that we all began in light. Okay, so we got the auroral contemplations back from that. Interesting. But for whatever reason, we can't apply it to... Huh. Fascinating. Okay, and we don't have the ability to assign again, so I wonder if that's working as intended. Okay, so we get an assign here, we get an assign there, but we don't get a sign here. Well, isn't that interesting? So yeah, the skill tree is a little bit of a puzzle to me, especially because I kind of feel like what should be happening is we should be getting the sort of like the skills that will sort of bring us our like allow us to read the remaining books. Oh, actually. So we can raise our understanding. Improve the skill to the next level. This will make it more powerful in the crafting recipes and allow it to be assigned to higher branches in the Tree of Wisdoms. Okay. Ah. So did we have a book that we had sort of the ability for, but for whatever reason it wasn't strong enough. So nope. But that doesn't mean we can't keep going. Oh, we're one short. Yeah, so we're just shy of these. I'm not completely convinced that this solves anything for me. Yeah, so we don't get an option to assign. But what we do get to do, I get to reload for skills, and now I get to try and improve my skills before I assign it. Again, I'm not expecting a huge change, but I am curious to see if this is going to change anything. Okay, so we're going to go back to the Wisdoms screen, so we can assign here. So really no shortage of options in terms of assignment. Okay, so we didn't get the card back this time. Interesting. Yeah, so either I am misunderstanding what this screen is supposed to do, or cards are sort of getting stuck in certain regions, which is a little bit of a shame because I sort of wanted to see where this would all go. But at this point, I think it would be fair to say I don't quite know the path for myself to read these remaining books. And that's fine, because that gives me something to think about in the future. I am, however, going to wait on the next day. So we're going to speed things up a little bit so I can get to the next day, and we'll unlock what we can. Okay, so it seems to me like Faust is the first best option here. Actually, what I probably should have done was... Okay, I don't need to consider. Reverend Timothy always jumps at the offer of company. So I'm mildly curious if I were to do Faust again, what happens with Reverend Timothy, but I'm going to leave that aside for now. We will get our introduction. Okay, Mr. Kill pumps my hand. Just me and thee and the missus tonight. Eh? Well, there's a client in the back, but if thee don't bother he won't bother thee. The Kill's household is now available. So I was wondering if I'd be able to make something of the Grail with this memory, but unfortunately I don't quite seem to be able to get a grip on the... Like, I haven't quite been able to work out... Actually, the more I think of it, the less I've been able to do with memories in general. But we'll see, we'll see if there's something else that I can work with. In the meantime, though, it seems to me like I have a talk option. So we're going to talk with Reverend Timothy again. So I don't really have anything to talk to him about, but I do want to see what talking will accomplish. So for level indicators on the skills, you do have these, right? So this does have the skill icon. Okay, so if I talk with Timothy, enhance an assistant's efforts, I could encourage my assistant, work with them for a little while to exalt them. Ah! So let's think about what I want to try and do. So I don't think I have any winter to help out with, though, so that still doesn't quite do the trick. But it does mean in future I'm going to be able to do some things that... yeah. Okay, so Shaft will boost Knock and Forge. Health will go for Heart Scale and Nectar. And I suppose the question now is, what will Faust do? and we won't learn until after it's exalted. Okay. What I am going to do, because I am at the 3-hour mark, and I realize this is a little bit of an anticlimax to end on, but I did want to get some kind of sleep tonight, and I also have a little bit of writing to do. So I'm very intrigued by this. The one thing so the biggest thing for me right now is to try and get a little bit of a better understanding on this skill tree. And it's mostly just related to the fact that right now this seems to be taking cards away from me rather than giving cards. And I was sort of under the impression that this is how I would unlock what I needed for the, for the remaining skills. So I'm going to experiment with that a little bit on my own. It's neat to see, like little things like being able to exalt Timothy and such. That I feel like might also, it might be the way that I wind up accessing Crowcross Sands. And then, as far as the books are concerned, in this case, I suspect the story is going to be some combination of getting the skills from the other readings and such would be what would allow me to finish the existing works here. But what I am going to do is I'm going to take our good friend Timothy. We'll take the gatehouse. Book of Hours. 3 blossoms hath the watchman's tree, paper, ink, and flame. Thomas de Wolfe, 2nd Barrow, Brantford, coming June 2023. So there are a couple things to keep in mind about this. So if you want to become a Book of Hours beta tester, there will be a sign-up link in the main menu. I probably would recommend that you do that after you've played the demo to decide if it's for you. But there you go, right? There's the option there. From what I understand, they have put a bit of a priority slot for people who have provided bug reports in the past. I suspect I'm getting drowned out by the game, so let me hit goodbye for now. But yeah, if apparently I believe there's going to be probably a weighted probability draw, or maybe they've reserved slots or something like that. But from what I understand, if you've kind of submitted bug reports before, they're looking to bring you back. So there will be a closed beta later. But equally important is the wishlist button. And I will actually take a minute to bring this up myself. So just a reminder that this is going to be going live for everyone on the 6th at 10 o'clock Pacific. And if you want to see the developers play this, that will be on the 9th, again at 10 o'clock in the morning. Now, if you go to that site, obviously you can wishlist as well. I encourage you to do so. If you look at the if you look at the Steam page for this, you will also notice there's a lot going on in this. There's a lot that we didn't see inside of this demo. So one of the things I'm going to be doing is messing around a little bit myself just to see what's going on with those parts of the game that I couldn't quite make sense of. And then, of course, number 2, I just want to see if maybe there's more that I can do that I haven't taken a look at yet. But the big thing is that I'm delighted that I've been able to do this early look at Book of Hours. And again, I'm certainly looking forward to being able to do a few more things. But I am particularly interested in knowing what everyone else thinks of it. So I hope this was a good use of your time. I obviously took a while to get going, and there are a few things that I couldn't 100% make sense of. But this seemed like a good spot to end, and I don't know. I'm probably going to spend some time with this between now and the next time that I play. When is the dev stream? The dev stream will be on February the 9th at 10 o'clock Pacific time. So that's going to be in the evening for I'm pretty sure that's the evening for the UK. But the official word, all of the announcements and all of that are going to be on the news for the Steam page anyway. But in any case, again, thank you everybody for hanging out and watching this with me. Again, I hope you enjoyed it. It seems to me now there are a few people who have keys for this. Again, I would have much preferred to be the world first, but it looks like Jay's Gaming was able to get ahead of me, and in this case, their French streamer. Second place isn't so bad. But unfortunately, I don't have anybody that I can host tonight with Book of Hours. So let's see if there's anybody maybe doing Cultist Simulator. Oh, yep. So I don't know who the streamer is, but let's show them a good time. So this is Renvalia. And thank you, Takri. Yeah, again, I don't want to take the opportunity to stream this and then like have people be turned off of it. But yeah, let's raid Renvalia. Again, I always sort of feel obligated to say I've had a couple of not so good hosts. So unfortunately, I do need to specify this is not someone I necessarily know. I have been delighted in the past by some of the people that I've met in Cultist Simulator, but I also need to kind of be careful that I'm not endorsing things that I wouldn't necessarily support. Please tell me that I didn't have my away sign up. Okay, good. But in any case, I hope they do a good job of entertaining you. If nothing else, I love to be able to show some more support to the Cultist Simulator stuff. So I will be back. My usual streaming days are Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I will definitely try and do the demo again, especially if I have an opportunity to unlock some more things. But I need some rest. I also need to finish some work before I get some sleep. So that's it for tonight. Again, thank you all for being a wonderful audience. I hope to get a chance to show you more of this in the future. And until then, take care and please treat the next streamer well.